Okay, and then I'm going to share my desktop with you because I'm going to be switching back and forth between various applications. So let's do that. Okay, so I'm going to talk about Apple photo editing, and that's basically motivated because Apple um, went out and purchased a new tool, the Pixelmator. Um, in photo editing, we have the Apple Pixelmator. It is now branded for Apple. And we also, of course, have the tools and photos. I've shown that to you before, but I'll review a little bit of it here. And then associated with all that, we have the image playground and arguably Apple Freeform, although it's more of a whiteboard, pasteboard kind of thing, which we could also look at. But I'll be mainly looking at the Pixelmator. It is a recent Apple acquisition. It is $49.99 in the Map App Store, but I have a suspicion that it's going to be incorporated into Photos at some point, um, adding its tools there. Uh, don't know. It could stay separate. Can't be sure. Also, I should note that the Apple privacy policy applies and the Apple terms of service applies. Okay. So I'm going to go to our live demo. So I'm going to start by opening Pixelmator Pro, and this is it right here. There are two versions of this that you will find in the App Store. The Pixelmator Pro, or just Pixelmator. Another one that's called Photomator. Photomator is a more basic version. It does not have any of the layer tools, drawing tools, or whatever. It's just basically an image adjuster, much the same as you already find in Apple Photos. So it's not particularly interesting. It is free, and it does work on all devices. But like I say, I think that back when the Pixelmator people were separate from Apple, it made sense. Now that they are an Apple product, probably the only one that is really of interest will be the Pixelmator Pro, which I'll be showing here. Um, the Pixelmator Pro does require Mac OS 12 or later. Um, so it is limited in that fashion. It also is a 860 megabyte application. So you have to be aware of that. Uh, Contrast, though, if you're using Adobe Photoshop with all of its tools and other things, you could be looking at 6 gigabytes. So there's a large difference in application size between the two. Okay. Now, Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop, is really more or less dedicated to professional print and pre-press workflows. Pixelmator Pro, it has speed advantages and certainly a simplified user interface. Um, but there are a lot of features in Photoshop that keep Photoshop as an alternative for the really high-end work. And a little later on, I'll tell you of the capabilities that Photoshop has that Pixelmator Pro does not. Um, but here we're going to be looking at the photo editing and the painting tools. And we're going to work with a layered image with some advanced layer blending, vector tools, uh, and similar operations. They can save layers and history, so you can have undo. And by the way, it supports all the major image types. The high efficiency image codecs, the HEIC, the portable network graphics PNG and JPEG and WebP, and of course TIFF. And the export function even allows you to export to Photoshop file so that you can transfer work you've been doing from Pixelmator Pro to Photoshop. Also handles motion projects and quite a few other things. Okay. Now, when you open images in Pixelmator Pro, you can open them from standalone files. You're also provided with a Photos browser, so you can open straight from Apple Photos. And you can even round trip it, save back to Apple Photos, which is useful. And by the way, when you do that, you have the usual revert to original function, so you can undo any changes you made. Okay, so the kinds of workflows you could do, well, you can make a new file. You can import from Photos and then save back to Photos, or save and export to a file. And later on, I'll show you how within Apple Photos you can execute Pixelmator functions straight from there. Okay, so this is what we have here. Over here on the left, and I hope my cursor is visible to you, we have our layer menu, and the options are similar to Photoshop layers. If I add a layer here, okay, I'm able to choose the various ways of blending that layer with the layers underneath. These are very Photoshop-like. Okay. And another interesting little feature is that I can make a layer that I can bring from photos or videos like so, or FaceTime. I can grab a snapshot from my FaceTime camera, or of course choose from a existing image. So I have all of that available to me. What I think I'm going to do first is I'm going to add one from Apple Photos. Well, before I do that, let's look at the other menu too. Over on the right-hand side, we have all our tools, okay? And we start with our uh, object chooser, if I had different objects on the screen. My various paint tools, selection tools such as marquee and magnetic connection and so forth. My brushes, you can see that I have all the brush options that you would expect, very similar to what you would see in Photoshop. My paint fill tool, my erase tool. One thing about the erase tool is that it always erases to transparency. So we'll show you the layer underneath when you erase something. My healing tool that I can use, and various image adjustments, smudge tool, text tool, the Bezier pen tool, and so on. Okay. Oh, and, did you see that? You can hover and you will get a little pop-up that explains what the tool is. Now, let's open something from photos or videos. I'll give the spinning pizza a chance here to open up the web browser. It's taking a bit longer than I would have thought. There we go. And I've got some here for demo. So I think I'll choose this one. And that, as you can see, is me. And I can now do various operations on this photo. I'm going to turn the saturation all the way down to make it black and white. And then I'm going to duplicate it again. And then under effects, I'm going to change this to the inverse of the image. It was under format, invert colors. There we go. All right. Now, having done that, I will Now I use the color dodge, and as you would expect, that would make the whole thing go almost white. And with the color dodge in place, then I'm going to apply a Gaussian blur. So let's do that. Okay, there's my Gaussian blur. Now the effect is that I've taken the original color image and I've made it into a sketch-like appearance, um, to give it the feel of being more of a drawing. And I've actually used that in some of my social media. Okay, so having stumbled through something I thought I had already nailed, um, let's try something a little different. And this is a bald eagle that was injured and was rescued and is under the care of the Palo Alto Rangers. Um, as an aside note, I should state that you're not allowed normally to capture and confine bald eagles uh, as as a protected bird, as is the national symbol. An exception is made here because this particular bird had been injured and could not fly very well. It can fly a little, but not very well, and it cannot hunt on its own. So they are keeping it and feeding it and so forth. And what I'm going to do now is uh, try to select the ranger and remove him. So I'm going to uh, choose my selection tool. Now I'm just moving around the image, and you can see that it is trying to determine what the contiguous areas that I want to select are. It's not doing a bad job. It's a pretty good job. So we'll see if we can get as much of the ranger as we can. And the chair. Okay. Now with the image selected, I can choose my erase tool and just get rid of all the stuff that we had marked off. And there it goes. As I said, it's erasing the transparency. And then I'm going to switch over to photos, and I'm going to bring up the same image and go into edit over here. Now, like I say, I think that sometime in the future, uh, Apple may choose to incorporate the Pixelmator algorithms straight into Apple Photos. In the meantime, you can use the drop down for uh, external editors and invoke Pixelmator from inside of Photos, like so. So now I've taken the image from Photos, opened it up in Pixelmator, and I'm now free to edit it here, and then I could save it back to Photos. One interesting thing is that when I'm doing it this way, you can see that Pixelmator has not been opened as a standalone application. It is an application running in the background uh, behind Apple Photos. Okay. Now I'm going to cancel that. And now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do what I wanted to do earlier, which is remove that background. But now I'm using the cleanup tool inside of Apple Photos for that purpose. So I'll select the cleanup, and I can adjust the size and it. And then I just start to move it around the areas that I want to replace. And the trick is to make sure you overlap uh, on the edge between what you want to remove and what you want the AI to look at and use as the replacement. And you can see it does a pretty good job of deciding what you really wanted to do. And I can just continue to do the other pieces that I want to get rid of. Okay. And I have other segments of the chair to do. And just keep on going, trying to find all those little bits. And if you keep working on it, keep having it reanalyze the image, eventually you get what you want. All right, so I've shown photos before, but besides the cleanup, which is the newer tool, you have the standard crop that you can use to straighten and change the aspect ratios and so forth of the image. You have a selection of styles you can apply. For example, I could make it dramatic or quiet or whatever. Cozy's not too bad. And then, of course, I have my tools for adjusting light and contrast and so forth. And as I mentioned before, the other version, the Photomator, as opposed to Pixelmator, uh, provides all of this. Uh, but you have that in photos, so that's uh, more of what you would like to have. So I'm going to restart Pixelmator. Okay, and I think I'll get rid of all of this without saving and just give myself a new. Okay. Now over here under the brush, um, I mentioned that you had all the standard brushes that you could want. So you can use this as a painting tool, not just as a photo editing tool. Um, I also have a pixel paint, and the difference is the pixel paint allows me to choose a size and change blocks of pixels like so. Mm. And if you're accustomed to having a pixel paint, well, you can just set that down to 1 pixel, and then you basically have a pencil. Okay, so let's see, I mentioned the blending of layers. Oh yes, and of course you also have the text tool so that you can put whatever text you require. And I have a number of preset styles and so forth, and your usual font and size selections and so forth. Okay. Okay. So let's see. Okay, so effects, I had the blurs I was trying to use before, distortions and color adjustments and so forth. stylized, and I guess the halftone. Okay. Um, and let's see now, what else haven't I taken a look at here yet? Uh, okay, I should mention that, as I said, the exportation allows you to go to a large number of different image formats, uh, including PDF and the new WebP that is being promoted by Google for web images, making a Photoshop document or a motion project. Okay. Now, the other tools that I was mentioning, um, is Freeform. And Freeform does allow you to import a photo or video, just like we were doing before. And I can resize that. The native pixels are much larger than this, so I can make this quite large within the Freeform. And then I can do things like add a sticky note and type in uh, oops, Falcon. Uh, you can add shapes. And of course text and so forth. Um, and it's basically designed to be a kind of a whiteboard that you can use to build a image for illustration or whatever. Uh, it hides its whiteboards inside its own library, but you are allowed to share this, print it, export it as a PDF, uh, to use it for whatever purpose you need. Uh, it doesn't, have too much else to say about it. It's not really a very cluttered tool. It's fairly simple to use. Okay. And then the other one, and I've shown this to you before as well, but this is basically Apple's image generator that always works from an image that you provide from your own library. Um, so let's see now, I can choose a person and I'll choose Audrey.
Oh, yeah.
And then I can choose, uh, you know, different possibilities. So let's say uh, party with unicorn, and we'll see what it does with that.
Works with portraits. Oh,
Okay, I didn't mean for it to give her a unicorn head. I just
Mm.
wanted to have a unicorn. Uh, that's a little better there. That's more like what we want. So let's give that the thumbs up. Okay. Um, and I'm not going to give any further feedback. Um, mm, yeah, it really seems to have latched onto the idea that it would have a uh, unicorn coming out of Audra's head. Now, I do have the ability to choose a sketch. I can also choose an illustration, like so, and an animation, or rather anime art. I kind of always like the sketches better. Okay. Um, but anyway, that's Image Playground. Okay. So why don't we just open it up to people asking questions, and I'll try to work with any of these that you might have questions about.
Actually, I'll go back and ask a very dumb question. Layers, because the whole graphics thing to me, I mean, I can work some with photos, cropping and such, but the whole thing about layers, that is just literally a thing of putting one thing on top of another, on top of another, on top of another. Why do people do that? What is that for?
Okay. Uh, Basically, yes, that's allowing you to composite an image. You can, for example, I have my text layer here that is on top of my image layer, which is the one where I was painting. And if I turn this off, that little bit of text disappears. And I can choose different ways to blend those together. Um, okay, let me give you a little bit better example. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new.
Let me ask it this way. If I have something in photos that I am, so I have a picture of a pretty flower that I took someplace. Does that have layers in it? Or would I have to take it apart to get layers? Or would it be just a matter of like putting text on top of it?
Well, that's actually what we're looking to the future about. Right now in Apple Photos, you do not have layers, and you have to go to something like Adobe Photoshop to make up a layered image. Um, and think of it this way. Suppose you were working old school with transparencies, actual, you know,
Film, film,
film
like,
and
yeah,
acrylic transparencies or whatever.
yeah.
And you were stacking these up on a light table. And the idea is you stack them up, and a little bit of the image is on the top layer, and then more of the images on the next layer down, and so forth, depending upon how you choose to blend them. Well, you don't have that in Photos, but you do have that in Pixelmator Pro. And it's now, as you can see, it's partially integrated into Photos by allowing you to browse and save back, basically round tripping an image. Now, Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop, has these features and a lot more, but the uh, thing is that Photoshop is, you know, fairly pricey for people these days.
Right.
Um,
It's
and
more than that. I do not see the need for it. I don't see, I mean, I can see it if you're, developing an advertisement for, I don't know, whatever, to sell a house or to, or to sell Procter and Gamble washing detergent or something. But it doesn't make sense to me. David has his hand.
Linda, I use layers a lot on my iPad when I'm doing painting. And one of the ways that you might use it, you mentioned a pretty flower.
Right.
Perhaps you had a photograph of you, and then you went out and took photographs of flowers in your garden. And you can layer those on top of your image so that you create a flower crown.
All right.
And maybe you create one flower that's perfect and you want it to be all roses but different shades. So yellow rose goes on one layer. You copy that, you flip it, and you alter so then layer two is a yellow rose, but you flipped it. And then you can alter its color a little bit so it's a little more subtle. And you can end up with a rose flower crown of varying colors and shades and move them around individually. Then when you've got everything exactly where you want it, you can flatten the layer and it's down to one layer again. So it gives you the opportunity to move things around and alter them one by one.
So would I have, so if I'm doing a crown of roses, would I have a different layer for each rose?
If you wanted them to be different colors, yes. Or if maybe you wanted to twist one a little bit so they're not all pointing the same direction, you want a little variety in there.
Okay. So then you end up with a bunch of them, bunch of layers.
So if he used layers on that falcon photo right now, he could duplicate the falcon. The second falcon could be made smaller and flipped so that it looks like there's a pair of them sitting side by side.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay. That makes sense.
So largely a tool then meant for composing or assembling photos.
That's how I use it. Yeah, I'm sure there are many other use cases. It took me a long time to understand layers, and I finally just thought of each layer as a sheet of glass. And I could see through it unless the thing I put on top was opaque. I actually had to make like little glass slides for myself to understand it.
Okay.
If you're putting together, again, I'm thinking of a painting image, kind of a pirate ship on the ocean. The ocean goes in the back, then the pirate ship goes on top of that, and then the sails go on top of that, and then the Jolly Roger symbol goes on top of the sails. And maybe you decide that you want your pirate ship to be beached, so you move it up in the stack so that it's in front of the water. Then it'll be sitting on the sand. So it's a way to move things from front to back.
All right. Okay. That's helpful.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
you can see what I just did here.
Oh
is
yeah,
I
there
did
you
take the
go.
falcon. I did take the falcon and I made a separate layer. So you can see I have a copy layer there.
I see.
I have my original layer there.
Okay.
And that's not half bad. Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
So that
you
one,
can,
the second
do
layer
things like that.
covers, the second layer covers up the human that's,
Right.
all right. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. The part of a human.
Yeah, because that
Mhm.
second layer is also taking the background as well. So the entire left half of the picture is from the second layer.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. I should mention what Adobe Photoshop can do that Pixelmator Pro cannot. And for example, you can link external files in Photoshop. And you change the external file, it will change the work you're doing in Photoshop. You can script Photoshop. So if you have a particular procedure that you do quite often, you can set that up as a script. And you can use that to batch automate the production of images.
Yeah. It's
Of course,
highly
it
unlikely
integrates
I
with,
would ever use that, but maybe somebody would. It's obviously some people do. So,
yeah. And of course, it integrates with Adobe Creative Cloud. So it works, with the other Adobe tools,
yeah.
Such as Illustrator, you know. Another big factor is that here in Pixelmator Pro, I'm always working with red, green, blue color spaces. In Photoshop, you're allowed to work with the CMYK color space, um, and also Pantone spot colors. And again, that's very important to people that do press printing and so forth.
Yeah.
They need to be able to make up packages that can handle that. Um,
Yep.
and there are other color modes too that are important. And you have the content aware field and the content aware moving generative fill, all of which can be done in Photoshop, but we don't have a tool for that here in Pixelmator Pro.
Okay. Okay. Anybody got, somebody had a hand up. I think it was
Well,
David.
David, yeah,
I had my hand up, but what I was going to say was essentially already covered. For example, you can, I've noticed on recent photos that you can hold and drag slightly on an object and it will cut it out of the background, like you move it around independently. What you can do is in a program with layers, you can then hide that layer and then blur out the background and then put that layer back. And now you have it sharp against a blurred background.
Okay.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. All right. Portrait.
I gave it a picture of a helicopter. And it
Ah.
promptly worked on it and gave me a little sketch like that. And I wonder what happens if I add a space to it. See what it gives us.
Cute.
You
Okay,
still
so
have
it kind
Party
of
with the
gave
Unicorn
the
turned
background.
on as part of the prompt.
Oh yeah, I do.
Oh,
Part of the prompt.
party with
No,
you.
it's right here.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, we'll get rid of that. Okay, there we go. Now no unicorn. See what it gives us. That's interesting. You know, it is giving us a helicopter and it's giving us a helicopter in space. Kind of wonder.
Hmm.
Stop share for a second, and I'm going to try another little experiment. I gave it a harbor scene,
Oh,
and basically it was just a wharf with a lot of boats, and
this is a picture that you
added,
had?
And you still have the
yeah,
space filter turned on.
Okay.
Boats in space.
yep, something like that. So it turns out you don't have to use a person; you can use anything, and it will
There
go
you go.
nuts.
There you go. There you go.
Well,
Mhm.
All right. Well, that's takes care of one objection.